How's it going? My name is Matthew, aka EZBOT, and today we're going to be learning how to do ambient with the Elektron Digitakt II. What I plan on doing is using the factory sounds explicitly, so lots of oscillators, wavetables, some of the noise samples that are included in the Digitakt II. I'm going to be doing some sequencing and showing off a couple of different techniques you can use to kind of mangle samples in ways that are very pleasing and sound great in an ambient context. What I plan to do first with the Digitakt is layer out a bunch of sequences that are in scale. So we're going to pick a scale, and I'm going to put a bunch of trigs down and set the probability to a low probability. So this is some really basic ambient production at first, and then we'll kind of just keep leveling up the complexity as we resample and kind of mangle the sounds and try out different techniques there. After I do this first layer of probability-styled sequencing, I will then resample it, and then we're going to separate it into two loops, where we will kind of emulate Steve Reich tape loop styles, and we'll use that as a bed, as a background underneath, but we're going to create our own tape loop first before we do that. We'll kind of discuss how the tape loop works as well. Then we'll get into some time stretch tricks and some granular synthesis and play with some sort of long form noise sweeps. And I think by the time we get to that stage, after roughly 2 hours, which I imagine this will take, we should have a good grasp of how you can do some excellent ambient production on the Elektron Digitakt II, which is my favorite sampler of all time. I also want to mention that this stream is not sponsored by LaCroix, sadly, and I feel like I'm being punished by them every day that they don't sponsor me. It is, however, sponsored by Modbang. Visit modbang.com for all sorts of cool cables and synth stands that I designed myself with my friend. Check it out, it's sick. Alright, here we go. Digitakt II. Look what I brought. I brought a plant. We all know that ambient music actually just sounds like total trash if you don't have a plant sitting next to your device. I mean, this is just something we've all accepted over the course of the years on the internet. But this plant is going to imbue the Digitakt II with the ability to make blissful sounds. Just absolute bliss. Without the green plant here, without this vegetation, this device can only make sounds of farts and trash can, fax machine, microwave sounds. That's all it can do. This plant gives it all the power in the world. So if it was a fake plant, it might actually work a little bit, but since it's a live plant, I think we're really in for a great session. Okay. As you can see, I've named my project Ambient, and my pattern I've also named Ambient, and I do want to treat this stream like you're brand new. Maybe the table would stop wobbling and respect me a little bit. Thank you very much, table. Come on. I do want to treat this tutorial like you're new to the Digitakt II. So if you are new to the Digitakt II, this is going to be a great place for you to just learn what this thing does in general, and how to lay down trigs and how to expand your sequences and all of that. And for those of you who have a lot of experience with the Digitakt II, you're going to double learn today. You're going to learn again. That's what's going to happen. So here we go. I do have a blank project, like I mentioned, so all the sounds are the default sounds, and what we want to do is kind of switch these sounds out, because I don't want to use kick drums and snares and stuff for an ambient project. Although I was thinking about maybe having the ambient project turn into some sort of like minimal techno thing towards the end of the stream. We'll see about that. But for now, we're going to keep it strictly ambient. So let's change the scale of our project, which is something that I think is really important to do at the beginning of your project. I think it makes moving forward much easier, as opposed to adjusting the scale of your project later on. And in some cases, adjusting your project scale later on can result in you duplicating pages in ways you don't want to have happen, and just easier for you to get lost. So if we kind of have a premeditated idea of what we want to do, premeditated, I don't know if that's the right word for that, but if we have an idea of what we want to do first, it's helpful to keep us on course. So I'm going to go function page, and this is where we're going to change our track scaling to different track scaling. We're going to use an infinite track scaling today because ambient has no boundaries, just like the power of the plant has no boundaries on how amazing it will make these sounds be. So we go function yes here, and that is going to change our sequencer page to the per track sequencer page. This is a really important feature in the Digitakt 2 and in all Elektron boxes, and frankly in all hardware electronic music boxes. To be able to change your track scale independently is something that I come to expect from all machines, and when it doesn't have that option, I am sad. And I get sad easy though, that's a problem for me. So let me change this reset to infinity, and basically what that means is that these tracks, they're not going to have this automatic reset. By default on the Digitakt 2, quick explanation. By default in the Elektron boxes, when you're reset, or master in some other Elektron boxes is called, when the sequencer runs through the number of steps that are mentioned in this box here, so if it's set to 4, this means that no matter what track scale I have these tracks set to, say 16, 128, or whatever number, they're only going to go for 4 steps because they're going to keep resetting after 4 steps. That's what your reset does. So when you want to do stuff like that, or it's polymetric, for instance, using infinity is really useful because you can do patterns of 7 and patterns of 9 and patterns of 16 or patterns of 17 or whatever, and they're all just going to keep going infinitely with no reset. However, when you want to change patterns, that's where it becomes kind of tricky, and you need to also set your change to make up for your infinite reset. So let's go back to infinite. We're not even going to mess with change because we're not going beyond one pattern here, most likely. I'm probably just going to make one pattern that is going to be just one ambient generative style track. We haven't made a single sound yet. I'm just talking your ears off. This is part of the tutorials, learning how to listen and becoming an active listener. It's good for everyone. Okay, now that we've adjusted our track scale, I'm just going to go ahead and bring this one down to like 7. I like 7. I think it's a nice number. Feels like a magic number. And I'm going to replace this sound. What am I on track 2? Let's copy it. Go to here. Pasting this on track 1 and 2. That way both these tracks are now 7 steps long. And I'm going to go to track 1 sound. I'm going to completely replace it. This is a little trick. So if you're looking at your sample menu using your encoder and highlighting your sample, if you hit function yes here, it'll shortcut you to exactly where that sample was living before. Function up will let you move very quickly through the Digitakt. No takes you out of menus, and what we want to find is oscillators, because I'm going to start with, how about a wavetable, just to make things interesting. Let's start with a wavetable. What's really cool about the Digitakt 2 is that the wavetables can be auditioned while you're testing them out. You noticed my finely manicured hands, huh? Not finally. Not finally like they hadn't been, but like they always had been. I don't know about that one. I like this reed plastic. I really like plastic sounds. I don't know why. But I do. But here's the thing. So here's what we're going to look at. I just selected a wavetable for this track, and this is our wavetable. And as you can see, it's not like a single cycle waveform. It's not going to oscillate. But we can see this sample in here, and it's just a snippet of a wavetable. It's not like a, well, it's a little sample of a wavetable, which we're going to use as a wavetable. To use the Digitakt 2 as a wavetable, function source, head down to grid. So now that we get some different moments in a wavetable, what's useful about wavetable is scanning through the wavetable. Now, the Digitakt doesn't have a feature called scan. We can move the start position around. We could use an LFO for that. We could even assign velocity to move the start position if we wanted, or the velocity to tell an LFO to move the start position. That'd be something that we could try, but we're not going to. What we're just going to do is change the grid to 64 so that we get a nice resolution in our wavetable. And I also like having this loop. So here's our wavetable. It's very bassy at the end. All the good stuff's at the beginning of this one. We can adjust the dynamics of our sound here. Let's just make it a pluck. Perfect. Okay, so we have our first sound, and now we also should choose a scale to play with this sound. And I want to use a scale because I want this to be easy. I don't want to think at all. I want ambient music to just kind of appear. Wouldn't that be nice? That's the whole point. It's the point of the plant. So we're going to change our keyboard scale function and this little piano button, which is fantastic, and I love the little icon. We're going to change our scale. Which scale should we do? How about melodic minor? We're going to turn keyboard fold on, which gives us 2 octaves to play with. Maybe not melodic minor. Harmonic minor. That sounds nice. Sounds a lot more. And we're not doing E Phrygian. That sounds nice. I think it sounds like this could become something nice, but let's listen to another scale. Not the whole tone. Not the blues. Version sounds nice. Iwato. It's a short scale. It doesn't have 7 notes in it. It's cool though. Okay. We're going to stick with harmonic minor. We can always adjust this later if we want. Well, we'll kind of get punished if we adjust it later, but it is what it is. Cool. So we're going to go into our step editor and we're just going to put a couple of trigs down. Like I said, we're only using, 7 steps for this sequence, which you can hear. No one ever goes major. Well, something to think about for sure. Because we've chosen a scale, and because of the way I have my personalized settings on my Digitakt II, when I hold this and turn a note, it should snap to the scale. There we go. I have to hold it and push down. That does it. Okay, so I want this to snap to the scale. So let's just go push these down. And I definitely don't want to hear this sequence without a bunch of effects because it will just make me totally bummed. So I'm going to go to the effects track and let's adjust our effects. So function plus effects lets you go behind your effects tracks and play with the settings that you don't get access to as parameter locks. So these are your like not background, but these are the settings for your effects, but you only get to adjust them just here, and you can't like hold this down and go, I want this to be ping pong on this particular step. It doesn't work that way. So here I do want to turn ping pong on. I want to get the width up quite a bit so that it really ping pongs hard left, hard right, because we want this to be like really space filling type experience. Bring my delay up to about 88. We could even feed it into the reverb a little bit just for fun. And filter the top, which it already is by default, actually in a nice filter spot. And then we're going to go down to the reverb, turn that sucker up. How about 90? It's also already filtered in a nice spot. You can see the exact values of stuff when you hold function and press it down. In the secondary menus, you have to hold function and press it. You can see the numbers for everything if you do that. Otherwise, you can just hold the window and you can see the values for your default windows this way. Let's go ahead and bring this up and this. And I want this tempo to be slow. Let's go to like 90, even 85. Let's go 80. Okay, that is not ambient. Let's get some filter going. Okay, we have something. We have something nice, a nice little bed. What I also want to do is change the probability for when these notes play. We can do it in 2 different ways. We can parameter lock the probability of these steps, or we can change the probability of this entire track. Let's try changing the probability of the entire track and see how that fits. Nice. So now we have a randomly generated sequence. Now, mind you, what's random is just the chance that these trigger in the time that they're playing. So it's like they're always going to trigger at the exact same time in this 7-step sequence. It's always going to be the same note. There's not too much you can do about that. I did make a tutorial on how you can have it be truly random sequences. It's a long process, and it's not one that I intend to go through today. So we're going to keep things a little bit simple, but we are going to use this concept to start generating the bed for our ambient track. So let's do some stuff with this already to keep things quite simple. Let's go hold track, hit copy to copy the sound that we have, which is going to be the wavetable that we've chosen, and the filter settings that we have, and the effects that we have. We're going to go to the next track. I'm going to track 2. I'm going to paste that track's preset, go back here. I guess we could go here and copy this sequence, go here and paste it, or go back to track 2. Now we have 2 of the same sequence, but I can offset them so they don't play on the same notes. So the same notes don't play at the same time. So if you look at this is track 1, this is track 2, and they're just 1 offset. There's 2 offset. But now let's change the notes that are played on this other track. Let's go up higher. Maybe pan this side a little to the right, and this one a little to the left. I might even bring their probabilities down even further. How about 20%? Now on track 1, I'm going to use an LFO. I'm going to have it move really slowly. So I'm going to bring the BPM multiplier down to 1 so it's not a multiplier of the BPM. Change this speed to 16. And I am going to use a triangle wave, and I'm going to use free running. We're targeting the multi-mode filter's frequency. I'm going to give it a little bit. And this will kind of open up the sound that we have. We should also adjust the position of the wavetable on a per step basis for each one of these tracks. And let's copy this LFO and bring it over to track 2 as well. So I'm going to hold this, hit copy. We're going to go to track 2. I'm going to hold mod, hit paste. Now that same LFO is on this track as well. But we could change the speed just to make things more interesting and give it more depth than the other one. And now let's adjust the wavetable position of these triggers. Let's go to our source menu. We can see the wavetable position. Let's go move these around a bit, give them a little something different. And do the same thing for track 1. Cool. We've got a nice little dancing sound. Some of that bass out of there for each one of these tracks. And we'll give it some key tracking, so when those higher notes hit, they open up a little bit more. Let's do it on both these tracks. There we go. So what I really want to do is, I want to grab a random sequence, and I want to resample this with the effects and everything, and then start again from that position. Maybe bring that down like an entire octave, and just have this nice swelling sound. There's so much you can do. There's so much you can do with these like ambient... Oh, yeah. With these ambient starters like this doesn't have to go into an ambient track. We are going to do ambient. we're not going to stop here. We're going to keep going into ambient land. But I do want to mention that you can use these workflows and not do ambient. You can use these workflows, resample them, chop them up, and turn them into these cool beds for like these like minimal house tracks or minimal techno. I think is really great. Or as a bed for some dub techno. You can definitely do some electro with this kind of stuff. And this is kind of like my go-to is with samplers is to generate like strange sequences, resample them, and use them as idea starters for tracks that have higher energy than ambient. Because I don't typically write that much ambient, but I love to delve into it and explore it and take from it and bring it into other compositions. And that's kind of a bit of my go-to with the Digitakt specifically. So you can hear this, it's got there's some dynamics happening, like there's some change going on. We have a lot of LFOs and we could do a lot more with this. In fact, we could use another LFO, even though I feel like this wavetable is a little on the weak side in terms of like the different harmonic content that it has from it. Like it is pretty much all at the front of the wavetable that has anything that sounds unique. Yeah. We're gonna leave it alone because we're just gonna keep exploring. We could actually, well, what if we switch this? Let's go to slot 2, and let's switch this one out to a wavetable. To a different wavetable since the settings are already there for us. It sounds like it might have some cool stuff in it. There we go. Need to tame the feedback on the delay? Why would I want to do that? We have different needs, my friend. All right. Let's do the sampling process, and then we're gonna sample this and kind of do this Steve Reich tape loop style thing with the sample that we do. So let's go to track 9, and then maybe these lower tracks will be our resample tracks, and these tracks can be kind of our generative sound source tracks where we have oscillators and wavetables and noise sounds. Just for now, as a way to keep things slightly organized, just a little bit. Just a little bit of organization. Okay, let's go into our recorder, and what I want to select for my recording source is my main outs. Because the main outs are going to have all those cool effects, the reverb and the delay and all sorts of other stuff we wanted to add to it. We could crunch it up with sample rate or bit reduction or overdrive. I don't really want to overdrive things, but sample rate and bit reduction I think can sound really good for just getting some 8-bit crunch into your ambient production, or just making more jagged, sharp sounds. That's kind of how I think of sample rate and bit reduction. Let me just do a little analogy here. So when I think of sample rate and bit reduction, or even just sample rate and bit rate, you're talking about how smooth and how much data is captured in a second, milliseconds of your audio. And the less sample rate you have, the more jagged the recording is, right? Just the more sharp edges there are. So when we think of how good a synthesizer sounds, or the Digitakt II, for instance, is 4824 for its sample and bit rate, it sounds better. It sounds better than all their other samplers that they've made. And I don't mean that, it's not an opinion. It is the truth. It sounds better because there's more clarity, because it's recording more content. So it's got a smoother recording. The more sample rate, bit rate that we do reduction, we create more jagged edges on our sample. The more jagged edges you have, the more harmonics you create. This is a synthesis thing, right? A sine wave is a very smooth waveform, and therefore it creates just the fundamental tone. The more you start changing the shape of the sine wave, the more sidebands you're going to create, the more harmonics you're going to generate. The same thing goes for sample rate and bit rate. Okay? So we want to capture our main left and right, and this is going to be what we use for our Steve Reich tape loop. I'm going to do play record. So there's two different kinds of recording, and this is what's so cool. We can record 8 bars of it, I guess. No, let's do 4 bars. Keep things easy. What's great here is that you can choose to either do a threshold recording, which was my preferred recording for a long time, and that's why I loved the Digitakt for recording, is because you can just plug something in and just set your threshold, and if it crosses the threshold, the recording starts, and it's just bam, it's so easy. It's really convenient for grabbing one-shots, which is what the Digitakts excelled at. Digitakt 1 excelled at. Digitakt 2 kind of excels at now sample loops or phrases and stereo samples, as well as one-shots, because it has 20 gigabytes of SD and it has lots of RAM to work with. What I missed on the Digitakt 1 when it came to sampling was something that I really liked about the Octatrack, which is out of picture here, but I have the Octatrack on the table here, and the Octatrack has recorder tricks where you could set up a trigger and it would start the recording at the beginning of a sequence, giving you these perfect quantized triggers. This was really useful for resampling stuff that's like drums, because you wouldn't be missing the initial transient of a kick drum or a snare or a synth sound or a vocal or whatever it is that you're recording. Using the threshold recording, you're always kind of missing just a little bit of the very beginning of the recording, and sometimes that little bit is enough to destroy or kind of ruin the recording, depending on what kind of sound you're sampling. Now, when you use the play record like this, the recorder will start with the press of the play button. This is just like putting a recorder trig with a one-shot trigger down on an Octatrack, which kind of makes this as good at sampling as the Octatrack, minus this doesn't do live resampling and let you just play with that audio immediately or play with the recording buffer. So different machines for sure, but in terms of just grabbing phrases, this is on par with the Octatrack now using this feature. So you just arm it and we hit play. Okay, here's our recording. Because we recorded the main outs, we have our delays and our little bit of reverb in there, which really starts to come into play at the second half, which is fine for us. So we're going to go yes, and we'll name this as loop 1. Loop 1 is saved. I'm going to put loop 1 on track 9. And now for the time being, I'm actually going to mute these 2 tracks where we had done the wavetable and the random percent chance of these triggers triggering on a 7-step sequence. Slightly panned left, slightly panned right for each track. Now we have that summed down to a single track. We have that idea burned into a sample. We're going to put that on track 9. We're going to have this one play for 4 bars. Put a trigger down and set my trig length to 4 bars, which is 64 steps. You can also hold function, it will snap. Well, it doesn't when you're doing this, when you're doing a parameter lock, but if we weren't parameter locking, you could do it. Here we go. Now we can add additional effects to our recording, but even better, we can repitch it. I know it's really gentle. Sounds really nice though. This definitely sounds really cool resampled, but here's an idea too. What if we switch this machine over to a repitch machine and then change the length of bars that it plays? Because it was kind of being cut off. A lot of bass in it though. I love repitching my resamples that I've done. The results are tasty every time. Yeah, reverse? That's a great idea. That's what we'll do. Why didn't I That should have been the first thought I had. Good call, 8 myth. Eighth. Don't make me say that. Don't make me speak those words. Oh, that sounds really nice. Ooh, if we put a little LFO on this bit reduction, it will kind of bring in this, like, this weirdness. That's not ambient at all. I like that. Let's hear how it sounds at its original pitch, though. It's very stereo. All right. So we have this beautiful bed. Is a bed. Get a little more of that low end out of there. It's a bit much. Let's add these other tracks back on top. Ah, starting to get there. I definitely like it better with the low pass. I feel like ambient tunes are all about low pass filters. So I said I was going to do the Steve Reich style tape looping thing. That's not what I did here. So let's use this loop again, and let's mute these really quick and do this again. Copy, paste, paste. We need at least 2 loops, and we're going to do this forward. Change this machine to a 1-shot. This machine to a 1-shot. Okay. And we want this track to be 64 steps, and this track to also be 64 steps. And let's put our trigger down and have this play for 64 steps. And set it to loop. So this is a part of the deal. And now we can copy that and paste those settings there, and then we can actually just copy that and paste that there. And so, okay, let's explain a little bit about this Steve Reich style sounds. Also notice the stereo of the sample. It's very stereo. The shapes are not the same on left and right channels, which I think is so cool, and I love that about this sampler in particular. Not only does it display it nice in a way that I can actually see that information, but that it is stereo. It's such a high quality digital audio converters. One of the reasons I've always loved the Digitakt is sound quality. It's always been an excellent sounding device. So now let's do this. So like to do the Steve Reich style tape loops, the idea is that you have 2 loops recorded and they're playing at the same time at about the same speed. And eventually what's going to happen is one tape is going, their tapes are going like this, and eventually because you offset one, they start having this phase change offset from each other, and eventually they just start playing like they're just playing in different speeds. And all you have to do is just offset the start position a little bit or offset the end position. If you followed, I've made a tutorial on this on the Octatrack, but it also, there's a couple other tutorials on the internet about how to do this process. I'm going to talk through it. If you want to watch those videos specifically, Loop has a video on it as well, because everybody probably knows his stuff. But you should watch mine, because it's me. And we love LaCroix. And that's important. Okay, so what I want to do is change the length of time a little bit. And I will just hard pan this one. And I did it on... Yes. This one will be hard to the right. This one will be hard to the left. And this one will play all the way through. This loop will kind of not play all the way through at the very end. And that'll be that. Let's have a listen. A little attack for that transient there, a little sharp. Let's bring its length down even further. Oh my gosh, sorry. I've fumbled this so hard. You have to put a trig 1, otherwise we keep resetting it to the beginning of the phase, and that's why those phases aren't matching up. Hang on a second. So what we gotta do is go to our trigger, and we have to change the condition to first. Because we only want it to trigger the one time. We have it set to loop, so it's gonna go forever. But it kept resetting the phase. That's a problem. So you would have run into the same problem as me if you were doing exactly what I did. We want both of these triggers to be set on the first condition. That's gonna make us actually do the Steve Reich style tape loop, because they're only gonna have their very first trig to control the loop. Okay? Here we go. See, now the phases are offset. And it's just going to keep growing more offset. We also have to have the trigger length set at infinity for these, not 64. A couple of little steps missing there. Now they'll go on forever. Okay. Let's add some like noisy swooshing sounds to this. So I'm gonna go to track 3. And let's grab one. Factory textures noise. Oh, it's so nice. Alright, let's put a trigger down. Let's just set it at infinity. Loop it. So I want an LFO to do that for us. So I'm going to go to my LFO. We're going to go filter frequency. Whoops. And bring this to a really low speed. 4. Triangle. There's our noise. That's nice. He was going a little slower than we want. I also think I want an LFO to move the noise in the stereo field, so let's use LFO 2 for panning. Panning. You can also keep using the free running LFOs, they're really good for this. Bring these percentages really low. Now I think I want something just like, we definitely want something, we're kind of like hanging out in this like mid-low range right now. And it sounds nice. I think we need some really low stuff. We need some real thick, like, bass stuff. And we need some like real sparkly high stuff. I'm trying to think how I want to do that. I think I want to use, I'm going to do this like fake ARP technique that I like to do. And then we'll also do some granular stuff to kind of like fill in the high end with the fake ARP and the granular. And we'll fill in the low end just with a beautiful single cycle waveform oscillator. Let's do the beautiful single cycle waveform oscillator first. And I want this, I want it to the bass to be like a solid note. I want to feel it. I want this to become emotional because right now it's eerie. It's like we're going or we're like, there's definitely a mystery happening right now. Like we're looking for something. I think the narration here is like, you're peering through the bushes. You're like, what's happening? I've never been here. But we don't need that. We want it to be like, I'm peering through the bushes and oh my God, it's a spaceship that just landed or something where it's just like a rival, something like that, you know, just huge. That's how I want that to feel. So let's stop this. Let's go in and get a single cycle waveform. Factory oscillators, single cycles. So it is. So it is. All right, to use a single cycle waveform, they need to cycle. They need to oscillate. So you got to set it to forward loop or reverse loop. Either way is going to do the same thing. And let's use a different filter. Just use the low pass 4 for this. I'm going to do a certain type of step recording now. I'm not going to live record this in. I'm going to go record stop. We're going to use step record standard. This allows me to select a different step, and which is really nice. What's going on there? That shouldn't have been programming steps. Sorry, we gotta clear all this weird stuff out suddenly. Okay. Step record. This is the step I want to record to. I want to use my keyboard mode, and I want to put down this note. So that note just got placed in this spot on the sequencer because I'm in record step standard. So I can choose a step with the function button, even though I didn't want it to do that. Get out of here. Got my F3 in there. Set the trig length to be about a half note. Let's give it some delay. And we have our first note. Actually, copy this. Let's make this track 128 steps. Paste it back. Oh, hold on. Those other triggers are there. Where's that sound? There it is. What a mess. Step record standard isn't supposed to put notes in when you hit the pad like that. I think I was just doing it too quickly for it. Oof. Just ignore that part. We got what we wanted. Okay. So I'm gonna have this one only play... I don't know. Maybe I'll have it play, like... one of two? One of four or something? Let's go one of two. Let's do one of two, and then... Actually, no, let's make this 256 steps long by dividing this in half. And then I don't need to use, and then I can still use the trig condition but get more out of this trig. Or not even use a trig condition. Just paste this and go. We can jump to different pages this way, which is very convenient. These should all be set at half notes. They are. Nice. I feel like we need to put our sparkle in here. So let's do the fake arpeggiator trick. This is one of my favorite tricks to do. We're gonna make an 8-step sequence, and we're gonna fill it with notes, and then we're gonna use a single cycle waveform. So we'll set this to forward looping, and let's change the sound and pick up. We could even use a wavetable again, so why not? Entertainment, that sounds nice. Set this to a grid, resolution 64. Forward looping, that's what we want. We could have an LFO scan for us through the slices. Whoops. So let's go to a modulator and use slice. Select. This is our LFO scan. We could use why not use a sine wave? Let's see what happens. This is what the LFO is doing. It's scanning through this wavetable for us. We could have it do random and use the random slew. It's also nice to have the wavetable's position be the middle, so the LFO kind of hovers around the center position. As you can see now, the LFO is kind of hugging the middle because I set the wavetable's position to the center. That's kind of important to know. So this is good for us. It's very harmonically rich, and it's what I want, even though we are going to do plucks with it again. So we're just going to drop these down to little decay envelopes. Same with the filter. And I'm also going to remove the top end because this is going to be in the top. But we're going to go like this. We're going to bring the volume all the way down. We're going to set these to these. Well, first let's listen to it like this so we can actually hear them. Lots of reverb, lots of delay. And our second LFO is going to go to the filter cutoff again. And this time, it is going to go very slowly. We'll have this one play at 2x speed. And I'm going to hard pan each one of these notes, far left, far right. Here it comes. Oh no. Have a listen to it, here it comes. Yes. Pretty. A little bit of attack. Both the filter and the envelope because we got a little transient there. Yes. Ah, wonderful. All right, now let's do some granular. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. That's cool. That's so cool. Now I just want to hear like huge acoustic drums. Maybe with some overdrive on them. Be really cool. All right, let's do some granular. So what we're gonna do for our granular is we're gonna record the main outs once again. I'm gonna let the sequence play for a while before I arm it. Ah, shit, that's not gonna work. Well, anyway, we're gonna record everything. It's just, that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna do it again. Arm it and hit play. Oh yes, grabbed a good spot. The LFO's in the right place at the right time. Oh my gosh, here's what we got. I mean, that is a sample I could use in a track later. That's so sweet. That's sick. Fire. Save it. Call it loop 2. Oops. Where do we want to put it? Nothing on 12, right? I guess since I don't know, I'll just put on 16. Here's the Steve Reich loops. Here they are starting to... The phase, you can see the phase, hear the phase difference. They're like bouncing. It's gonna get even more. We'll leave it how it was. Needed to explore there for a second. Wow, that sample is so fire. Okay, here's what we're gonna do with this sample. Let's mute all the other tracks so we can just listen to this process. We're gonna go to our LFO. Actually, we want this to be twice as fast. LFO is going to be set to start. I'm going to go to my trig, turn LFO trig off, turn LFO trig on here. I guess this is for more of a time stretch trick. We can leave it like this. Just kind of use the LFO and go to the middle, I guess. Owl Kaminsky, I see you. I agree, vocals. I don't currently have things plugged in a way that I can do my vocals at the moment. I installed a new interface recently, and I haven't set up all my routing quite yet. But it is plugged in, it's just not routed into my Digitakt at the moment. Now I think we need some like longer notes. We have this long bass note, but we don't have a long pad type note. We could build a chord from scratch, which could be kind of a cool idea. We have a couple tracks free, don't we? We could build a triad here. Is 12 a track that we're using? Oh, we could build a... Okay. Let's just use our wavetable that we had for this nice bass sound. Or no, it's a single cycle. Right? Copy. Paste, paste, paste. Paste. And let's go... Got a chord. Sample that. I guess we want the mains again. Bam. Oops. I got a chord made from one of our other tracks. Save that. I don't even know what chord it is. Doesn't matter. Chord. CC, HC, no. That's a spicy chord. I know. Where do we find all these tasty spices? Now we're going to play with this chord. Even though I probably should make 2 of them, but we can go back and do that later. Bring our tracks back. Track 15 is going to be where the chord was. Should be in my recorded. What did we call it? Really? That's it right there. Put up the 1. So stereo. Smells like ambient. Out of the way, plant. Okay, so far we've done a bunch of techniques. We did the Steve Reich tape loops, we did random probability, single cycle waveforms, we've done wavetables random probability, we've done resampling, granular synthesis. What else have we done? Oh, we did the arpeggiator trick, we did filters slowly opening up over noise to create kind of like an ocean vibe, like a noisy, distant sound. We've done quite a few techniques so far, lots of resampling, because I think that's really where it's at. It would be cool to have some voices in there as well. You definitely made this on the Syntakt for a tutorial. I did. I made something very similar to this on the Syntakt tutorial. It did turn out similar. A little bit different though, because you can't do resampling on the Syntakt tutorial. It was all just synth sounds specifically. But I think it would be kind of cool to add some like some little percussive bits, little glitchy sounds to kind of like it's Tom from MySpace? Wait. Are you referring to me? I hope not. Well, I hope not. All right, let's see what's up. Factory drum hits. I want like really small stuff. I think it's under the percussion. Synthetic. Let's get one of those. I should probably just load a bunch of them. Let's go here and do it. So we're going to use our plus drive to do this instead. So go to factory. Drum hits, percussion, synthetic, and what was I using? What's this sound like? Oh. Now I can use the right arrow and I can just like grab stuff I like. It's actually sound like they're in the key of the track. Go pull them in there. Alright, load the project. Now let's play with these samples in the project. And I don't need that to be, at least be off. Shrink them down. Pan them around. Oops, get out of here. That's nice. Okay, I feel like we've accomplished our goal of making ambient, and now that I'm starting to add percussion to it, I'm really feeling the vibe that I want to go a little bit further with this and continue to add maybe some drums to it. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think that's what I'm gonna do. How many tracks we got left? Where did I put that? Copy this track sound. I'm gonna put it over here. And we're actually gonna move this. Whoops. We're gonna move this track to 8. For this track, I'm gonna put some sort of kick in. This is gonna be like 13 steps. Let's find a kick we like. Still like minimal sounding synthetic. That might be a little too minimal. Did I not? I went in to go do that whole process and I didn't even take it with me. one's called Ambient? Okay. Okay, save it here. Just bananas. So here's without our percussion tracks. Cool. That turned out to be a really cool track. It's such a fun experience diving into samplers like this, because samplers have a really unique ability of taking your sound, like creating a sequence, taking that sound, and then reshaping that sound after you've created the sound. And that's something that only samplers can do. You know, synthesizers can't do that. You can modulate synthesizer sounds, you can modulate drum machines, but you can't modulate, or you can't just take a synth and then just flip it upside down. You know what I mean? taking snapshots of time and then playing with those snapshots of time. It's just such a cool experience, and that's why I love working with samplers in general. They're easily my favorite tool. If somebody out said you can have a synthesizer, you can have a sampler. You can only have one. I would always go with the sampler 100% of the time. Although the Digitone 2 would give me a run for my money, because that is an amazing synthesizer for doing exactly what we're doing now. I know a lot of people were talking about Digitone 2 during this tutorial, and that's because it does such a great job. So it's definitely a good idea to play around with the Digitone 2. I do think that if your first box with Elektron, if you're getting into Elektron and you're just going to start off here, I think that it's a good idea to start off with Digitakt 2. I think it gives you more bang for your buck in terms of different kinds of music that you can make, or basically you can make any kind of music, 100% of any kind of music, whereas the Digitone, you are going to be limited to your skill set with synthesis and understanding synthesis, as opposed to loading phrases and samples into a sampler. So definitely recommend that. But in terms of making like ambient and stuff like that, all of them do a great job. What's great about the Digitakt is that you can also just take beautiful long recordings of like your modular ambient stuff and then put it in the Digitakt and then set them all in different parts of the stereo field, have them play slowly or time stretch them and stuff like that. There's lots of great stuff that you can do. This is what we ended up doing. Ambient artists that inspire me, I mean, Brian Eno, Aphex Twin, does some ambient stuff that's great. Some like newer artists, I think Jogging House does a really great job of some ambient stuff. There's a couple of others I'm forgetting the names of. I don't listen to much ambient. I just like ambient. I just think it's cool. I like this more once I added drums to it. That's just natural for me. I like to turn it into some sort of a beat, and yeah, I don't know. So anybody has some ambient artists that they think people should check out, you should throw them in the chat. Please, let's drive some traffic over to those ambient artists. Get them some Bandcamp money or something. You know what I'm saying? Get them some heat, some listens, some hears and listens. I think this sounds nice. Super eerie sounding, and that's because of the scale we chose. That harmonic minor scale is an eerie scale. Pleasant. Midwest program. Andrew Black. Okay. Gas, Compact Records. Hans Zimmer, Niels Fromm. Comparing me to Hans Zimmer and Niels Fromm, get out of here. I ain't nobody. I'm just this guy with the Digitakt 2 on the table. Tokyo Bedroom Orchestra, that's a great name. I do love some of the sounds we got, like buried in the background. I wanted to get some more like granular, like sprinkles. I've always wanted to try that Torso S4. Somebody tell them to just send me one, because I'm not gonna buy one. I don't mean that negatively, I'm just not spending money like that right now. But I would love to try one, that'd be sick. Get some granular stuff, I would have recorded that into here. Please try all of it at half speed? Yo, that's a great idea. All right. All of them at half speed? I have to go in and edit them all. We could just take the tempo down half. How about that? Let's just bring it down to 40. Goes down to 40 or goes down to 30 at the most. Here's half speed. Sorry, I'm just doing some active listening here. Active. You can tell that I used to work in behavioral health, because I say things like active listening. Nobody says that. No, you cannot. You can hit track and edit them, but you can't edit the speed of all of them at the same time. Tracks we can use here. God, we haven't even added vibrato to anything. What's wrong with me? Jeez, where's all my Boards of Canada sounds? Alright, let's record the entire thing. 120, yeah, let's get 128 steps of the main outs. Loop 3. You can go on 15, I think, right? Shit. Actually, you know what? Why don't I put that back to where it's supposed to be? It's supposed to be this sound, right? I don't even remember what was there. All right, we're gonna go to a new pattern. We'll do the same thing that we did before. Infinity. I'll make it be long, like 8 bars long, or 8 measures. Put this sample in as loop 3. And let's have a listen to that. right, check this out. We're going to put this into a grid machine. It is a quantized loop. Grid 64. And slices, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just put a bunch of slices down. And go random locks. Wait a second. What's up with slice 64? Whoa. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, just one last time. Without the drums. Just acknowledging our lovely ambient track. Back at the tempo we had it at. Nice. And then we can go into, wait, what speed was this one at? Let's see. Also at 80. Too cool. There's just too much random stuff you can do with the Digitakt 2. It's just a good time. Cool. Well, that is, I know we did our ambient tutorial for the first hour or so, and then I just explored what we had made in various other strange configurations, like using the retrig on every single trig, or resampling the whole thing, bringing it to another track, chopping that up, and using the random locks, which is a feature from the Octatrack, brought over to the Digitakt 2, which is a great feature to have and helps you just like get tracks started. And I feel like we got a lot of cool sounds out of today's Digitakt 2 tutorial. And there's always more to learn. There's always so much more to learn. There's so much more for me to learn. And, you know, we should all be sharing that knowledge with each other. And if you have any tips or tricks that maybe I skipped or missed or didn't think of, feel free to leave them down in the comments section here. And maybe they'll make it into another tutorial later down the line. And I'll give a shout out for you if it's something I've never heard of before. But that's going to be it for me. That's today's live stream. Digitakt 2 is amazing, and I love it. If you haven't picked up a Digitakt 2 and you feel inspired by this video, this live stream, and you want to pick up a Digitakt 2, there is affiliate links down below. They pay me handsomely, for real. And that would be super cool. So if you're going to pick one up anyway, might as well toss a buck to the old EZBOT, sitting here making tutorials in his desk by himself, drinking flat LaCroix. Throw a dog a bone, right? It's been a real pleasure having everybody here. Thank you so much for hanging out. And if you want to see specific tutorials on how to do things on Elektron boxes or maybe the M8 tracker or other devices, feel free to mention that also in the comments below. If you want to get your hands on my performance templates or any of my presets, stuff like that, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT. That's how you support this channel, not just buying stuff on affiliate links, which is awesome. But if you really want to support the channel, visit patreon.com/EZBOT, whether it's a free member or a paid member. It's incredibly helpful, and it is what makes it so that I can sit here on a Tuesday afternoon when most people are at work and do a live stream. So really appreciate that and appreciate everybody for hanging out. So I will see you either later this week when I drop another video and or do another live stream, but for sure I'll see you next Tuesday. Be looking out for that. Thank you everybody for hanging out. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. Take it easy.